breakfast served to you in bed. Bad idea. Having tennis balls served to you in bed. The end.
Short, deep, profound, full of lessons, I think, for the institution. Why am I showing you that video? Well, because we want more of this, less of this. The danger is when we've got to a stage where we've gone from having 10 projects per year to having 40 projects per year. Are we going to have 60, 70, 80, 200 next year? How do we manage that? How do we manage student expectations? How do we manage the time from the institution where actually if we're having all these change initiatives from students, these ideas, the students are coming forward, which is fantastic. It's really wonderful that students have this passion, this energy. But on the other hand, you don't want to end up where you're like that poor person being served hundreds of tennis balls a day. You've got so many initiatives coming at you that actually ultimately you're not able to cope with them. Students aren't really able to fulfill their ambitions and don't feel supported and so on. So some of the challenges that I'm just going to talk through is how do we deal with that and how do we support it into the future. So I think first of all what we have done and what you've seen reflected today is trying to reach out to different areas of the university where there may have been change agents-like activity already existing or is already supported across the institution, but that could be brought in to the concept of change agents. Change agents started out, Liz will tell you the story, she was attending some SSLCs and various issues would come up time and time again. I think she would throw the challenge back to students and say, well, why don't we research it, why don't we do something about it? It's very academic, very discipline-based. But the principle basically being that students have an initiative, an idea, or an area where they want to change something, make something better, and they get off their backsides and they do some research and do something about it themselves, and we support them in doing that. That doesn't have to restrict itself to academic discipline type student activities. So today you've seen presentations from students from Community Action talking about the activities where they're taking themselves as students out into the community and working and building those sorts of relations, changing the image and impression of the university, but also changing themselves and their experiences whilst doing it. We had a really good presentation from Mark, who's been working with Joanne Harris in the English department, where we've seen a real growth in interest from students this year. It's been demonstrated in the English department how this can work. The students coming from their academic disciplines and saying, I want to take my passion for my subject out into the community somehow. So they don't necessarily want to change their course, their programme, the university, but they want to make a difference in the community. They want to be supported in doing that. They want to link it to their disciplines. And if Sarah Bennett was here, who works for the Guild in Student Community Action, she would tell you that the Guild just secured some funding from the university to support one project like that in every college. So any of you who are students or staff in colleges who might have ideas of what you want to pursue, think about it and do get in touch with the Guild because they have the resources to do that, and the type of support that they can provide is around training for students doing that. They can do the CRB checking, they can do the quality assurance of the volunteering activities and so on. So think very carefully about it and be proactive about it. We've had some presentations as well on institution-wide issues. So where in the past perhaps we focused on discipline-based change agents, we've been doing some research this year on some cross-institutional themes. Things like reward and recognition for students. Things like the first year experience. Should the first year count? The marks for your assessment count towards your final degree. Personal tutoring, peer mentoring. Issues that obviously have a resonance at the discipline level, but also are relevant across the institution as well. And a number of students coming forward and willing to do some research in that sort of area. That poses challenges of its own, because when you're working at discipline level, it's not easy, but easier to make change happen at that level. It's often about having a good personal relationship with an individual in the department. But when you're working across the institution, that can be a bit more challenging, because you're working across a whole load of different departments and colleges and professional services get involved, so that complicates things. So having the impact at that level is a bit more difficult, whereas conducting research and getting a wider basis the challenges associated with that. Enterprise. This morning we heard someone coming from university talking about enterprise and how we can engage students in that. We've got quite a strong track record as an institution of engaging students in social enterprise and so on, supporting students through that. So how do we extend the change agents? Because that's just the same thing. Really. Students taking the initiative, wanting to make a difference, wanting to develop themselves. So how do we take that as students, as an institution, and grow it and support it? So part of the solution for this for next year, which I'm going to hand over to Alex to talk about in more detail, his experience, is that we are going to be growing, and I've been working with colleges on this over the past few weeks, growing the existing staff resource in Claire Semps Business School and Humanities to support student engagement at that level. Colleges have committed, they obviously see the value in this. They've already committed a small amount of resource this year to make it happen, but we're looking to grow that and improve it into the next year and coordinate it across the institution, so with central university support and also the Guild buying into that as well. And to do that, we're going to be building on our 2011-12 model of good practice, Alex, who has been working in the College of Humanities this year, supporting student engagement, and particularly change agents activities. So Alex is going to talk a bit about how that worked and how that was a success. Why the institution wants to do the same.
Thank you for that. Very kind of you. So as Dirkles pointed out, the model that's being widely adopted next year was piloted by Humanities this year, and how that worked was that I was appointed on a graduate business partner scheme contract for 10 months. Point 5 of my role was to do with student engagement, point 5 was to do with study abroad support. Now in regards to the point 5 with student engagement, a large chunk of that was to coordinate and support the change agents projects within the college. So how did we do? Well, across the whole college we have 11 currently running or completed now, which makes up about a third of the institution's total change agents projects. And 7 of those 11 were attached to our SSLCs. So from day one, that was how we approached it. We say we'll trial it, and the first way we'll trial it with is going to our SSLCs. Because in college, we're very keen to make sure that these bodies of students, they're not moaning shops. They are groups of students that can propose solutions to the problems that they discuss. So that was where our focus first lay. But it's good to point out that 4 of those were not attached to SSLCs. And it's very keen to remember that. Now, next thing I'll talk about are the benefits, I think, of having GBPs coordinating this, and then I'll move on to some of the issues that I think those GBPs will have to address and some of the ways that they can move forward together. Now, some of the benefits is that the way my appointment is structured within the college is that I answer to an assistant college manager. So in terms of hierarchy, from someone on a graduate scheme below a assistant college manager, that's a good connection to senior management. And indeed my second line manager is our associate dean for education. So to have that high end support from day one in supporting these projects was really crucial. Now one of the other benefits was that as being a graduate and someone who is not either an academic or an existing administrative member of staff, I started with a clean slate. I didn't have a massive workload already. I could dedicate time to this. I could dedicate time to talking to all of our subject chairs, of which in humanities we have 9. I could talk to them and we could discuss change agents and ideas that they have on how to solve issues that they've come across, that their peers have come across. And I can't emphasise that enough, and that was key, was having that time to talk about it. Now some of the other benefits, I think, from coordinating it from a college perspective in particular, is that it's become very apparent that change agents for us in humanities is a key way to measure our student experience and to have someone central who can oversee, okay, so why are we having change agents initiatives crop up continuously to do with employability? Why are we having these things cropping up to do with seminars and module selections? So we can start to see the problems that students are having, and these projects highlight them to us. So we're kind of, it's like a quick litmus test for the NSS. These are dealing with issues before they come out at NSS stage. And for us as a college, it's absolutely crucial to be on the ball in order to react to those as quickly as possible. And I think that this is a model that can allow us to do that. And one of my key roles was connecting people within the college and across the university with these students. And that was one of the benefits, I think, of hiring a graduate to do this, was that I've been at Exeter actually for 4 years. 2 of those years involved with SSLCs, and 1 of them with my own change agents project. So I already knew a bit that's important to share good practice, particularly from a coordinator's point of view, to discuss, okay, how are we going to deal with students outside of SSLCs? Should we move on to targeting subject-based societies? Should we get more involved with the guild and go through those channels? Starting to discussing some of the issues of how we actually engage all students, not just a very small minority. And to be able to share those experiences across all our colleges is vital, I think. So although they're separate business units, essentially, they can only benefit from sharing something that happens in class. Why can this not be replicated and improved and enacted within humanities if there is a need for it from our students? I think Durf and I have discussed quite a bit about this, and one of the problems I found this year is that the branding of change agents has often put students off, which, and Durf and I was discussing about this very yesterday actually, is that one student said to Durf was, oh, I want to do this project to address this problem, and so we can call it a change agents project, we can go about that. Oh no, I don't want to do a change agents project, I just want to get on and do it. To which you kind of stop and think, well, that's exactly what change agents is. I think we're reaching a stage now is that where it's being devolved from education enhancement to the colleges is that we're realising that we don't need to do the paperwork that previously we'd done, because we can manage it and keep on top of it ourselves. I know what stage each of our projects are at. I don't need students to fill out forms about where they are, what they want to get out of it. You know, if a student finds a problem and they want to propose a solution to it, if they can do it in 2 weeks, that's great. It can still be a change agent project. I think we have to start thinking a bit outside the box of how can we embed it as an ethos within the institution? How can we create more of an environment for change rather than year-long projects, which are a big commitment. And I think it's very important to keep those year-long projects for the students that really want to get involved and really want to get their teeth in. But at the same time, if we want to engage more students, I think we've got to accept that a year-long project is that's going to put people off. And we need to adapt how we approach change agents, as well as just mimicking it and continuing it. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say really. Excuse from my end.
Are you wearing exactly the same?
I know, I was.
No, that's actually a different shirt. Does anybody have any
Slightly
questions?
lilac.